Welcome back to Don't Forget the Champagne. I'm Nichelle, and this is Wedding Planning 101. Welcome back. We've had a little bit of a delay due to quarantine. If you recall, our last Wedding Planning 101 was in a car, and today I have the house to myself. So I'm taking this opportunity to film the next in our wedding planning series. Today we're going to be talking about alcohol. Maybe people's favorite part of a wedding. Maybe one of the scariest parts of a wedding. Today we're going to be talking about alcohol in bars and how to get all of that set up for your wedding. The first thing we're going to talk about is what is at your bar. You're going to have a full bar, which is literally everything. That means you're going to have at all of the hard alcohols. You're going to have wine, you're going to have beer, you're going to have pretty much every option you can think of, or you can have a partial bar. And partial bars can look pretty different. Your partial bar might just include beer and wine. Your partial bar might have beer, wine, and a signature cocktail. Your partial bar might just have beer. Your bar might have beer and then wine with dinner. And maybe it doesn't have any alcohol at all. I don't know why you're watching this video then. If you're not doing any alcohol at all, you can do that probably without too much fuss. The first thing you kind of want to figure out is what kind of bar. And the biggest factor in this typically is price. But another big factor can also be your venue rules and the feeling you want in your wedding. If you know you have a lot of really heavy drinkers, having people have access to a lot of alcohol is not always the best idea, especially shots in hard alcohols that they can drink quickly and get drunk really fast. So if you're not wanting people to get raging drunk, and you know your friend group has a tendency to do so, maybe that's something you pull out of the bar. Or maybe you want that. You want that really party atmosphere. You like doing shots, your future spouse likes doing shots, then make sure that's something that's accessible to people. So it's based, one, on cost, because a full bar is definitely going to be more expensive because you have to provide a lot more variety, and the personality of your day that you're going for. What vibe are you shooting for? The next thing that you need to think about is how you're going to have guests pay for things or not pay for things. How is the alcohol getting paid for? Someone has to pay for it. And again, there's kind of a spectrum that you can fall on this. You can have a full open bar, which means that guests can drink whatever they want and you cover it. You can have a cash bar where guests can have whatever they want, but you have them pay for it themselves. Or you can have something in between. So I've seen ticketed bars. Those typically I see a little bit more at corporate events more than weddings, where you give a certain number of drinks, you figure out drink tickets. The bar can normally work with whatever, whether you get one of those big rolls of tickets at the store. Staples has them. Is Staples still in business? Office supply stores have them typically, or you could make custom cute little drink tickets or tokens. Or you could have, okay, wine and beer are covered. We do have an open bar, but any hard alcohol that you want to buy is something you're buying yourself. Or you could have a limit. The bar is open until 9 p.m. and then if you want to get drinks after that, it's cash bar or whatever. You can kind of do something in the middle. And then if you're paying for any percent of your bar total, whether that's you're covering beer, you're covering wine, you're covering till 9 p.m., you're covering everything, you normally have two options. You can either pay by consumption, so that means you're just paying for what people drink, or it is hourly. So it doesn't matter how much people drink, you're paying a certain price per person per hour. So those are the two options, and again, a lot of times the venues will just tell you which one you have. Most of the time you don't get to select, but just know that those are both things that could happen. There's also some situations in which you would be purchasing the alcohol and providing it, so then you're kind of paying by consumption, but also at the end of the night, any alcohol left over will probably come back to you. Sometimes it can be returned. Sometimes that sort of stuff can happen. And then as far as putting the bar together, there's typically your venue is going to really lead the way on this one. They're going to let you know what's the haps. Do they provide a full bar and you pay hourly? A lot of times this is how hotels will run, and sometimes even professional event venues, but definitely hotels, restaurants, those sorts of places. They're going to have all the alcohol already, and you are just going to be paying them to drink it. Another option is that the venue provides bartenders, but you provide the alcohol. This is personally my favorite option if you can swing it, because then you get to determine the cost of your alcohol, and you get to determine a little bit more specifically the brand you love. So if you want a specific if you want a specific type of beer, you can request that. If you want a specific type of wine, you can order that. If you want a lot of tequila, you can order that. You're a little bit more in control of what's happening. And a lot of times, I know in my area at least, there's a few liquor companies that you can then return any unopened alcohol, which is a great deal. That way you can buy a little bit more than you might need, and you can return what's left. Or if you can't return it, that alcohol belongs to you. So now you have, 3 bottles of tequila for, margaritas when you get back from your honeymoon. Another option, I think maybe one of the trickier ones, is hiring bartenders and buying the alcohol. So now you're providing both things, and it can be a little bit hard to find just like bartenders. A lot of the times you can get them, like I said, through your catering company or through your venue, and that's typically the best bet. If they neither provides bartenders, reach out to some other catering companies and see if they have any bartenders that they would either recommend or that are available that night that can come and work your event. And then the last option is a self-serve bar. This can be hard to purchase alcohol for. You need to purchase typically like 20 to 30% more alcohol for a self-serve bar, because you don't have someone who is kind of monitoring how big a drink is. So a glass of wine in like a wine glass is not full, right? Typically it's like that much wine in your wine glass is a full glass of wine. But if people are self-serving, a lot of times they are going to serve themselves a larger amount. They might not finish all of it, might get abandoned at a table. A lot of times you wind up purchasing more alcohol, and you don't have someone regulating things, so there tends to be a little bit more waste. But it can be a really cost-efficient option if your party isn't big drinkers, if you don't have bartenders on staff. You also cannot do a full bar in this option. I guess you could if you really wanted, but it seems really impractical because you're gonna have to be buying a lot more alcohol, and you really want the bar to not be an area where people are spending a lot of time. I think the best thing to do with this is get a keg or 2 if people are big beer drinkers. Bottles of wine on tables for dinner can be a great option too. And then I love using those like big drink dispensers, doing some big batch cocktails. So making like a huge thing of margarita or a huge thing of whatever you want, but that way people are not spending a ton of time at the bar, and they don't actually have access to those hard alcohols straight up, so they're not drinking. Again, you kind of want to not eliminate hard alcohol, but you want to make sure that it's dispersed evenly throughout the night, and that people aren't drinking too much too quickly and ending up on the bathroom floor, because that's not fun to deal with. There's almost always one at the wedding, but you want to limit it. You don't want everyone on the bathroom floor. There's not enough room. Let's also talk a little bit about special drinks. So we've kind of talked about what the structure of your bar can look like, but a lot of times there's a few other special drinks that you might want to have throughout the night. The biggest one is a champagne toast. For this one, you really want to make sure to talk with your catering team, because they are typically going to be the ones handling the champagne toast, because from the moment the champagne is uncorked to the moment that it is drunk, you want it to be a pretty short time frame so it can stay cold and that it still has bubbles. So you kind of need a larger serving team in order to do this, because they can't pre-pour 100, 130 glasses of champagne and then serve them slowly or have guests pick them up. You can work your way around this if you don't have a big serving team, but typically your catering team is going to be the one you want to talk to. There's typically a corking fee with these, which means you're going to be paying an additional fee on top of every bottle to provide that like serving service. This can also be wasteful because not everyone will drink champagne. So another way to do a champagne toast is to let people know that it's going to be an option, and they can go grab a glass of champagne from the bar. This means you're going to waste a little bit less champagne. It's definitely a little more inefficient because you're going to have a pretty long line at the bar, but if you know not a lot of people are going to want champagne, maybe that's the way to go. So I still love a champagne toast. I know they're a little wasteful, but if you want one, I think you should still go for it. The last thing we're going to talk about is shots. Like I've been mentioning throughout this video, hard alcohol is like a different story. A lot of venues actually will not allow you to do shots because then people get too drunk and then they break things. And the venue doesn't want you to break things because then they have to buy new things. And you don't want people to break things because then you will probably have to buy the new things for the venue. So a lot of venues will have rules and regulations on shots. So make sure to talk with your venue about that. But if you are going to do shots and you want everyone to like do a shot together, again, that's going to be through your catering staff. Typically this is a little easier actually to do than a champagne toast because you can have a shot sitting out for longer than champagne could sit out, so you could have everything on like serving trays a lot sooner in the evening. I would definitely make sure you have official approval from the venue, like I said, in writing, saying that you're good to go on shots. I think they can be really fun if that is your crowd, but you just want to make sure all your ducks in a row. Okay, that is the basics of wedding alcohol and wedding bars. So hopefully that answered some questions if you had any about what that structure looks like. If you do have any comments, go ahead and leave them in the comments down below, or you can always reach out to me on don'tforgetthechampagne.com. My contact information is linked there, and I'm always happy to answer any quick questions that people have. All right, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to Don't Forget the Champagne if you want more wedding planning content, and like this video if it was helpful for you. I will see you next week. Bye.